Hello. As you know, I always love to talk about the Pro panel and how we can use the pre-drilling advantages of our RAC, or even if you have a Perforex yourself in-house, how you can manage to prepare the panels up front. Now, of course, this is easy because when you're using EPLAN, similar to just a shadow, the information is just contained inside the components which are placed inside the Pro panel. So this can be done at any time. Just do the 3D, do your panel, and you can do the drilling. Now, a lot of people have seen me talk about the second step of your panel building, which is the smart wiring concept. Initially, you have to prepare, assemble the panel, which pretty much takes half the time. And the second half is the wiring portion. Unfortunately, the wiring portion takes about 8 minutes per wire in average, or 4 minutes per point. Now, what if we could calculate the length of the wires? Now, based typically on the schematics, we know the source and target, and then we can have the routing done inside EPLAN, which calculates the wire length and then get the benefit of the prefabrication of the wire. So either you hire WP, wireprint.com, which will prepare the wires for you. You hire the Rittal Application Center to get the drilling done. And all you have to do on your side is the in-house assembly, 1 minute per wire, and you're done. Question, of course, is how can I do this if I do not have the schematics? Because you just receive some PDFs and some paper, and you have to do the job, but unfortunately you don't create, or you did not create, the schematics in EPLAN. That's not a hurdle, because you actually have most likely heard about this thing here. When you do your labeling, you most likely will create an Excel sheet that you can import to print the labels. Here, this is basically a simple Excel import into Project Complete to get your device tags and to get your wire labels. What I recommend and what I suggest is use that same Excel sheet to actually define the wire. So read the schematics you receive in paper format or PDF and define each wire, source, target. Now in this case, I'm using the structure we typically know with the plus F plus A2 location. You don't necessarily have to use those because this is to identify where the components are. And this is the entire source, target, color, gauge, and wire number. And of course, this may take, in average, maybe 2 minutes per wire. You just fill out that sheet. So that's basically the Excel sheet. On the EPLAN side, because you want to use the Perforex, you create primarily the 3D graphics like this, as you know. And instead of just punching out the holes in repanel or something like that, you actually take the time to just place all the components and just make sure that when you place the components, because EPLAN will try to put some device tag behind it, just make sure that you actually match the display DT, the device tag, to what you just defined on your reading inside the Excel. Once this is done, of course, EPLAN is good enough, give me 2 seconds, EPLAN is good enough to just import that Excel sheet and do the routing. So here, what we do is we go to import, go down here to the import routing connections. This basically calls up that particular Excel sheet that we talked about, that we just looked at. This is this Excel sheet. We just pick it up. We just call it up here. In the import assignment, there is the assignment of the source, the target, the color, the gauge, and the designation. And what this does is basically just, boom, imports the wires. So you just click OK here. It actually recognizes the one that cannot be imported because of that plus F. So of course, if you don't have any locations, it's even easier. You just define the ones that are inside the panel. And this is basically an interpretation of the previous schematics that you received. Now, this being done, you can actually see inside the connection list here, we will have the connection list without the length, of course. What I'm going to do is I will, in this case here, just take the routing. So it's kind of a little bit difficult here because I'm really using a lot of space for the navigator. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And you know how the routing works. It's primarily just select the objects that you defined. It will look typically at the schematics here at the imported list, and you can see that the wires are immediately listed here. Now, why isn't this one here listed with the length? Well, it's kind of easy because what happened is, in this case, we have to go to the door. This is the junction between two different items that are on the door. Unfortunately, I did not open it here. If I would have done the complete routing like this of all the components, the wire length would have been assigned to all of the imported wires. And there we go. You have now a detailed wire list, which is nice because, as you know, as typically in EPLAN, we run here the reports via the tools, generate project reports, and the project reports will just generate the bill of material, including these wires, the components. It will generate all the lists for the fabrication for the individual steps, right? So we have the first step, which is cutting the ducts and the rails. Here we have, there we go. Then we have the panel modification, which is a drilling, which of course can be done by RAC, Rittal Application Center, so you wouldn't even have to worry about this. The assembly sheet to assemble all the components. And here you probably will have also someone have pre-drilled, ideally here in the clip project, all your devices. Then of course we have the same thing for the door again. And finally, but not least, is basically the wires for the wire fabrication, which can be done manually in-house or by wireprint.com. If you don't know wireprint.com, this is a service that we offer here in Canada, wireprint.com, and we pre-fabricate the wires. Now, when you look at this, it's a huge saving at the end of the day because the wires come pre-paired with source, target, and wire number. And the whole fabrication is done for you. So you get them actually before you have the assembly done. It's a 48-hour delivery time. So depending on how the delivery is done, in Canada, it's a little bit bigger. So it may take 1 or 2 days to deliver it. But after 48 hours, the wires are actually produced and shipped out. And you can see the details here if you want to. Just go inside. This is the machine that actually produces them. And we even have a small calculation here on whether it's worth or not. And the initial idea is, of course, to just see how much time you take to prepare these wires and at a specific rate that you ship. So you may work for $75 an hour or $85 an hour. These are basically the opportunities that are looked at and the time saving that is looked at. We produce the wires for way less than what it costs you to produce them. So we save in average anywhere between 5 and 7 minutes per wire. And you deliver much, much faster, and you keep a little bit of money also in your own pockets. It's all calculated here. We can discuss this. So this was how you can still benefit of that service, even though your schematics are absolutely empty. So you look here at this project here, there is absolutely no schematic that was done. All we did is we did visually do the interpretation and created this small Excel sheet. Super easy, super, super easy. Thank you. This was Roland from EPLAN. You just stop this. If you, of course, like the channel, subscribe, and I'll try to make some more. Thanks. Bye.